Good evening, and welcome to 30-Minute Reviews. I am Adam. I'm here to be the wet blanket. I'm not gonna, fuck around and act like that's not the case. I'm here to throw a damper, rain on everyone's parade, subdue expectations. And the title probably tells you that. It's gonna be a quick episode, because I just want to do this quick to get my thoughts out there. For those of you who don't know, on top of the other news from today, we also got news that Henry Cavill was going to be back playing Superman. Henry Cavill says he's back playing Superman, and that's all that. I'm not going to hold my breath about that movie happening at any point in the near or imminent future. Let me explain why. I think that we are in a period of upheaval at Warner Brothers Discovery. I think I addressed this kind of this morning, or it feels like I did. Maybe I just was talking to someone at work about this. But Warner Brothers Discovery is currently in a period of reshuffling everything going on there, making everything kind of streamlined with the new system, with the new leadership, and all of that. We've been seeing a lot of it. Movies being canceled, TV shows being canceled, things in development not getting made, all that kind of stuff. And it is all in an effort to cut money from the operating budget or get tax write-offs in the amount of billions. So, one of the things that happened recently, and I did an episode about this, is Walter Hamada has been let go of the company. Now, Walter Hamada's contract was up next year, but it appears that they wanted to terminate the contract early. So as of last week, I think it was last week, he is no longer with Warner Brothers. He is no longer the head of DC Films. You're probably asking yourself, what does that matter? Well, Walter Hamada has overseen DC Films since 2018. What would be the first movie after he took over? Because Wonder Woman was 2016. It would be the first one after Justice League, which would be Shazam. Would be the first movie that came out under his tutelage, all the way through Black Adam being the last, unless they're counting his termination date as before Black Adam came out, which would be Wednesday, which is entirely possible. I don't think that's it, though. So all of that kind of happens. And he is now out at Warner Brothers. So, if that's the case... and they've been talking about this for months. They've been talking about getting a new head of DC Films. The guy who produced the Lego Movie was on the list. There was the woman who previously oversaw Fox before Disney acquired Fox was on the list. Greg Berlanti of the Arrowverse was on the list, and. These are some big powerhouse names in the industry, and they were on the short list to take over as the head of DC Films before, and we don't know who is. There's still been no announcement as to who will be formally taking over DC Films, but someone will be taking over DC Films. Here's the thing about the state of DC Films. It's not like Marvel Studios, which it's not fair to draw the comparison, but at the same time, Marvel is, the most direct competition that DC has. Marvel Studios has a plan, or something resembling a plan, where if Kevin Feige drops dead tomorrow and they need to find a new studio head, they will have no problem continuing to make movies. But it's unlikely that a new studio head will deviate too far from that initial plan, at least until we get into the future after that. When we get to DC doesn't have one unified, cohesive vision for what the future of DC Films looks like. And that's fine. And they can, I've been saying for a long time, as long as this podcast has been out, I've been saying DC would probably operate better if it had a less structured cinematic universe. In the way that Marvel Studios is one long narrative, I feel like DC would have been better off with shorter interactions, where it's thing here, not entirely connected, casting is the same across most, we can do whatever we want, if you're not beholden to the overall continuity. I feel like that would have served DC better. But here's the thing, You have some things that fans really like, some things that an amplified version of the fan base really like, and some things that the fan base doesn't like. And the thing is, a lot of them contradict each other. A lot of them contradict each other in terms of narrative continuity. For example, a lot of people like Joker, a lot of people like the Batman. The two don't mesh. The two don't mesh. If the two don't mesh, you can't put those two together. Unless you do some crazy multiversal shenanigans, which would feel out of place for both the Batman and for Joker. So you won't see that without some nonsense happening. People liked, Gal Gadot. People liked Jason Momoa. People liked Henry Cavill. But I don't know how keen the audience would be on Ray Fisher had it not been for him coming forward with his allegation against Joss Whedon. And again, it doesn't make his performance any better in the movie. It just makes his performance, what it is. It doesn't change anything in that regard. And it's not a great performance. And Ezra Miller is Ezra Miller, and we're not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. And then you have Shazam, and then you have Black Adam, and you have all of these pieces that some work, some don't. And it's like, are you going to give the new head carte blanche to tear everything down? Is this a total demolition? Is this a partial demolition where we're going to take down some stuff and we're going to start fresh with new things? We're going to reboot some, start with fresh with others? Are we beholden to what's come before? How beholden are we to what's come before? And these are all questions that the new head will need to answer. And I think that if they say, look, you're still beholden to these existing contracts, that's going to scare away potential people, where it's like, look, if I'm going to take over as the head of DC Films, I want to be able to do it, greenlit whatever projects I think will do well. And if I'm stuck trying to put that through the prism of this casting, or this character, or, this storyline, if we're going to build towards, let's say, for argument's sake, they kept the plot of Justice League, whatever that was going to be, and that's what they needed to build to, you're kind of pigeonholed in what you can and can't do. And I think that by and large, they're better off doing a bunch of non sequitur stories with, one or two characters really spearheading the charge towards the end. And then for your big event, your big Infinity War Endgame, you do Crisis on Infinite Earths. I think that's where you go. I think that's the smartest way to do it. I mean, I don't know why they haven't yet. I just think that's probably the smartest thing to do. What else is there? I guess, and that's why I'm concerned about the Henry Cavill thing, where it's like, okay, yeah, they have him under contract, but there are other actors who have been under contract with Warner Brothers and with other studios, and one of those people is Henry Cavill, who was under contract to do more movies and hasn't, because they according to the report, which again we'll address the report in another episode, but I'm busy this week with other stuff. Henry Cavill was persona non grata, according to reports. So they just didn't touch him. Not because they couldn't, because they didn't want to. And if that's the case, then, this is all performative. And it's getting into a larger issue I have with the way Warner Brothers has been going. And we'll talk about that another time. Because it's I think that's a much broader conversation that's not meant for Henry Cavill coming back. I want to see a Man of Steel 2. I want to see Henry Cavill handled competently. I want to see him play Superman the way Superman should be played. I'm not going to hold my breath, considering I've seen more DC projects announced and never come out than seen DC projects announced and come to completion. But on that note, we'll wrap up there for today. So until our next episode, have a great rest of your week.